All right. Good morning, ladies. Welcome to day 2 of the Six-Figure Leads Challenge. Okay, so yesterday, just as a quick recap, we talked a lot about how building an asset that you own is so important. So many people are chasing vanity metrics on social media, and that is literally not helping anyone grow their businesses. Maybe it used to be that way, and a lot of people are still selling a lot of courses with that same messaging that it still works. But the people that are able to grow very quickly on social media are typically people who have already grown a following in the past. And I think for 99.9% of the ambitious moms that I talk to, we don't have time to be on social media all the time. Most of us don't want to spend a lot of time cold pitching in the DMs. We don't have time to be hanging out in Facebook groups, right? We're staying consistent as consistent as we can with our social media posting. But if you're watching this, it's probably because that posting is not actually getting you anywhere. So remember yesterday we talked about how the keys to success, like consistency is the key, a funnel is the key, a website is the key, this and that. They're all the keys to success. But if you don't have a door to open with that key, then it doesn't do anything. And they're just like that bag of random keys sitting in your junk drawer in your kitchen that you don't even know what they open anymore, right? You built them all, you had them, they had a use at one point, but now they don't even have doors to open. So I always say, literally, none of the keys to success are going to work unless you have an audience. So that's what we're talking about this week. Six-figure leads is literally, if you would like six-figure sales, you have to think about building an audience that has those six-figure leads in them, because you don't have the ability to generate those types of sales if you don't have the right people in your audience who will want to buy what you're offering. Like, I know that sounds super simple, but lots of us are really good at the, putting out content consistently in the brand part, and then really good at what we were going to offer or how we actually deliver our product on the other side. But in the middle, the bridge between those two is bringing in the actual leads who might actually buy your offers. So there is you, your audience, and your sales. That's the 3 big silos. And in between you and your audience is the messaging. And in between your audience and your sales is your offers. That's how I kind of like to look at it. So it's kind of like a 5-prong process in a big W, I guess you could call it, that we need to nail our messaging. So we need to know our people. And in order to know what kind of offers they want to buy, we have to talk to them. And in order to pull those people in, we have to create some sort of attraction model for them to want to come to, because a killer lead magnet doesn't do anything for you unless you're driving traffic to it, right? So traffic is the key. We can call that flow. We can call that whatever you want. But at the end of the day, if you don't have enough eyeballs on your stuff, you cannot sell it. So today we're going to be talking a lot more about collaborative events. It's my favorite thing to talk about when it comes to lead gen, because it's so effective so quickly to grow a targeted audience. So yesterday I gave you a little example about how somebody would rent out a big fancy New York hotel ballroom and cater it. But if nobody comes, then nobody cares. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't sell your catering services if nobody even knows you exist. And so a lot of the time we build all these huge assets, like the keys to success. You have the website, you have the funnels, you have the nurture sequence, you have the lead magnets, you have all those assets, those tools. But if there's no traffic actually coming through, then there's literally, they don't do anything. They're just pretty little things that you've created, which is nice, but not effective when you want sales. So the thing we need to remember is, if you were a caterer who really wants to get the word out there on the New York foodie, scene, then you need to pull an event together with a lot of the influencers who already have those types of ideal clients in their audiences, in their followings. And then they come and they invite their audiences and the people who are interested in whatever it is that you have stated as the topic for that event will come to it, and then they get to see your food. So hopefully that analogy was helpful for you guys, just to kind of see how a collaborative event actually, it grows your reach exponentially. And also the other thing about collaborative events that I have found personally is that it's not just about getting a couple leads on an email list. It's also about the referral network that you build with the speakers that you invite onto your event, because they start inviting you to their events and onto their podcasts and into their world. And now all of a sudden you have a steady stream of places where you're getting visible, and now your lead magnets actually do something because you're mentioning them on somebody else's stage, and people who are interested in whatever it is that you have to offer are going to come and download that, and now they're into your world, now they're on your email list. But a freebie or a killer irresistible lead magnet doesn't do anything if it just sits there by itself. We have to get visible and actually drive traffic through it. So I host summits, super simple summits, I call them. Some of my speakers will call them they're just like the quick and dirty. They're not big, they're not fancy, they're not crazy with all the bells and whistles. They're just pick a title and a tagline, which we're going to talk about today, around a certain topic that makes sense for the type of client that you want to pull into your world. So again, yesterday with the catering example I gave you, if you were trying to sell the best Indonesian food in the world, maybe you want to create an event that's about foods from around the world. And then you bring a bunch of influencers who specialize in different cuisines from around the world, and their audiences come to that event, and then they're tasting your food from Indonesia. And so maybe you didn't invite any other Indonesian chefs or whatever to talk on your stage. This is all obviously hypothetical. But afterwards, after they've gotten a little taste of you and your food, then they're way more likely to already recognize you, already be warm to you, and to take next steps if you put something else in front of them, right? So hopefully that kind of clears it up. So today I want to talk about how to plan your first collaborative event, because I feel like a lot of you say, well, I don't know about the tech side of all of that. Well, it's just Zoom. I literally just use Zoom and Facebook. And then I have my emails that I pre-schedule out that go out with like, hey, we're going to be going live, just like I did today. Hey, we're going to be, don't forget the Ambitious Mom Summit is tomorrow. And I create speaker promo packets for my speakers. That's just in a Google Drive, like in a Google Doc. Like, it's so simple. You got to keep this stuff super simple. And the other beautiful thing about it is once you have done it once, you have created your template to be able to go and recreate that again. So for example, on my registration page, it's called Ambitious Moms. What is it? Let me just pull that up. Actually, I use the exact same website every single time for my summits, because then I just change whatever, I'll find it. You guys will probably all come in through the exact same reg page. So I just change the form that's on there every time. So it tags new people and shows a new video for whoever's registering for that particular summit. So I don't have to recreate a website and redo all these things. I just use the same website landing page every time, and I just change the form. So the content that's on it, but the format is all laid out and I don't have to change it. And then I just go into Canva and I change my graphics to the new one, change the colors a little bit, it's like a rinse and repeat cycle that you can create. And so I think when we're talking about six-figure sales, let's get back to that. Creating six-figure leads just needs a system to bring targeted leads in consistently. So whether that for you is 2 events per year, whether that's an event every month, I mean, everybody has a different pace of where they're at in their business. If you want to get visible very, very quickly and be seen as the go-to expert in your space, then maybe you want to host an event every month or every 2 months for the first year, just to really get that audience built and that momentum going. And then once you're able to kind of kick back a little bit and say, okay, I have a lot of people in my audience. Now I just need to nurture them and convert them and deliver on what I offer. Then it becomes, maybe you want to just do them every quarter or every half of a year, just to keep new people coming into your world at all times. But it just depends on where you're at. It also depends on your financial goals. If you only want to make, $2,000 to $5,000 a month, you don't need nearly as many leads. If you also are selling something that's high ticket versus low ticket, that makes a big difference for how many people you need to pull into your world, right? But the goal of what I'm going to teach you with a collaborative event is to pull targeted leads. So meaning the right people for you. Because there's two kinds of people that come into my world: the ones who don't have an audience at all, or keep hearing crickets on their content and can't seem to get any kind of traction going, or the ones who have built an audience. Maybe they've had a great freebie, maybe they paid for ads, maybe they drove a lot of traffic to that thing, and they built a large email list or following, but nobody's buying, which usually means either your messaging is off, your offers are off, but usually it's not those two. Usually it's that you don't have the right people in your audience who want to buy what you're offering. So we tend to think, I got to change my messaging, I got to change my offers, and we do it over and over and over, but realistically, we don't even know who's in our audience or why they're not buying. So if we pull in the right people who are interested in, I like to talk about the higher ticket audience, And that's not to say that you can't have an ascension model, like a value ladder, that somebody comes in at lower ticket things and works their way up. But it's, do you have the right people in your audience who have the potential to buy, your high ticket stuff eventually? Because that's really important. If you are, I'll give you a quick example. One of my girlfriends, she did an incredible challenge that was super valuable for how to start a podcast, like from A to Z. And because of the people that she pulled in for that challenge, she pulled in do-it-yourselfers. And so do-it-yourselfers are not going to pay, $6,000 or $8,000 to learn how to run a podcast with support. Whereas somebody that comes in and wants it done for you or done with you is a totally different crowd. So she just had to tweak and change who she was attracting in. And she had to change her challenge because she was speaking to the beginners who want to do it yourself versus the ones who want it to help them create more influence and impact in an already successful business. So it's interesting to see, if you have the right people in your audience, you can sell out your offers a lot quicker. And then you can start to tweak your messaging and your offers and know it works. But until you have the right people, you don't know if any of that stuff is good or if it works yet. Okay, so we have 16 minutes to go. So I want to make sure that I'm covering this. And I know I talk really fast. So if you have any questions about this stuff, get into my DMs on Instagram or Facebook. I'm happy to help anytime. And I always say during my challenge weeks, I love to coach in the DMs for free. So if you need help with any of this stuff, or you have questions, or you think, well, where would I find my people, or where would I find my speakers? Like, definitely get into my DMs and just reach out and ask me questions. Because the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this week is that virtual events, like a collaborative event, it could be a summit, it could be a private podcast series, doesn't matter what it is. You can create whatever type of collaborative event you want. There are certain strategies and structure in the background that I think make them more successful and guarantee at least 50 people will come in for each event that you host. So there are pieces of that puzzle that I want to be able to give you. But at the end of the day, I feel like people get intimidated by these events. But as soon as you get the first one under your belt, you're like, whoa, that was like crazy, but I can't believe I pulled it off. And I can't wait to the next one. And often my clients will line up at least two summits or 3 dates at a time. And if you can get like the title or the topic or the gist of what you want to talk about in each one of them, it's awesome. Because when you're reaching out to book speakers, it's awesome to be able to say, if they say, sorry, I can't make your January date, do you have any other ones? And you can say, oh, I actually have one coming up in February and another one in April. And here's the topics. Do either one of those kind of, interest you to come and speak at? And then eventually you build enough reputation as an event host that you end up on other people's stages. Plus, your email list is the asset that you own, and you get invited to other people's stages because of the size of your list eventually. So it's super important to know that at the beginning, you are creating a win-win for everybody else that comes to the event. And eventually you become a part of the win-win for the next group of people that invite you to theirs. Does that make sense? Okay, so collaborative events, map it out. This is like the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, so obviously I can't cover like in depth all that stuff in the next 15 minutes, but you want to really get dialed in on who you want to pull into your audience. And if you don't know that yet, then we need to start there. And if you haven't talked to real people yet to find out who I call it like that kindred spirit, or like that chemistry, with the people that you're like, yes, I love working with that person. I love getting off calls with that person, or however it is that you like to work with those people. If you don't know who your ideal client is, or you feel like you're talking to absolutely everyone because you're too scared to get specific, I'm going to encourage you to have one ideal client in mind for these, because if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. I know that because I made that mistake when I first started running my summits. It was open to all ambitious moms, basically. And now I'm very, strategic about pulling in for the types of speakers and the topics and everything that I cover for ambitious moms who are usually ex-professionals or current professionals who are pivoting or have pivoted into the online coaching world and sell high ticket one-on-one or group programs. So that is a very different niche that I talk to compared to at the beginning when it was like all ambitious moms, because I don't serve the people who only ever want to make $500 a month. And there's nothing wrong with that crew at all. They can come to my free events and still learn from me. But in terms of the clients that I actually want to enroll and run with, they're the ones who are looking to make 6 figures plus. So they need to have a targeted audience quickly and show up as an authority in their space. So see how there's like a very big distinction there. So for podcasts, for example, just use that example again. if you're trying to come in and sell a low ticket, DIY course for $37 or $97, it's a very different crowd that you're trying to pull in. You're talking to kind of anybody who's trying to start a podcast. Versus if you want to do a done for you or done with you for high ticket, $6,000 or $12,000 for 6 months, let's say, then you're going to want to speak specifically to somebody who's already successful, maybe already at 6 figures, looking to scale, and podcast is part of their plan to get more visible or to grow their audience and their reach. So that's a very specific person that you're going to be talking to, and you want to get specific about who you want to pull in so that the topics that you're going to host events around are going to be strategic for that person. Okay, so if you have questions, please drop them in. If you're watching the replay, #replay. This part is like the fun part because you want to imagine who it is that you want to talk to. You're going to decide today, what kind of event do I want to host? Is it going to be a 1-day event? Is it going to be a 3-day event? Am I going to drip out a whole bunch of interviews over a certain amount of time? Lots of the typical structure for these are either a 1-day live event, a 3-day live event, or a 21-day drip out challenge, let's call it. So it's pre-recorded if it's 21 days. I love the live events myself. I've done them all, like all those formations. And I really love the energy and the flow of a live event better. So I've dialed mine down, and this is what I love to teach, is a 6-speaker summit. So I have a 3-hour event, and everybody comes in for half an hour on Zoom, and I interview them one after another. But the topic is going to be one central topic, and everybody's going to have their different angle around it, like the flair that they bring to the table around that specific topic, so that the people who are coming to watch can consume that information, because 3 hours is very different than, I've done one that was like 10 speakers a day for 3 days. And so that was like 8 hours worth of content. It was so much. It was way too much. Anyways, so I like to just dial it in and do a super simple summit, 6 speakers. It's a 3-hour live event, and then the replay is available for a couple days afterwards for free. And then I also have a VIP upgrade that I add on the end if they would like the recordings. And that comes with a free strategy call. And I typically, I only ever do free summits personally, but you could do paid. But I charge like $47 usually for the VIP upgrade. And I've actually signed clients off of that strategy call. I never pitch on that call, but everybody has a different style with that stuff. But I just want people to cement in what they've learned that week or that event. So it helps to have that sounding board, that person you can bounce the ideas off of, that person that you can share, like, I had this aha, but how do I actually apply that to my business and make a plan and move forward, right? So depending on what type of business you have, I'm positive that offering a clarity call or a strategy call or a game plan call or an alignment call, whatever it is that you call it, the calls, it's really helpful for people that come into your events to be able to have that next step to go after without having like a high ticket investment, just to kind of cement in that whatever they learned. So, okay, 9 minutes left. I'm trying to stay on time with my 30 minutes. So you figure out first who it is you want to pull in. Second, what you want to talk about. So your topic, because once you know your topic that's right for your person, then it's easier to figure out a title and tagline. And the title and tagline are super important because that is the splash that you get that goes out into other people's audiences to try to pull them in towards that event. So one of my last ones that I hosted was called, I hosted one in the summer called 6-Figure Leads, and it was proven strategies for lead gen for 6-figure entrepreneurs. And so I literally went out and I talked to a whole bunch of women that I know who are 6-figure entrepreneurs who have different styles of lead gen, and I interviewed them all. And the interesting part about it was we typically think it's going to be about social media posting or about cold reach outs or about paid ads, but all of them talked about collaboration. And I didn't even know that was going to happen in the beginning. So it was pretty cool because we all are at a collaborative event, and every single person had a different lead gen strategy, but it all had the common theme of collaboration. So I thought that was pretty neat. If you have not seen that summit, let me know and I can get you access to the replay. It was super powerful. But there were so many different takes on how to collaborate with other women and other entrepreneurs. And I think there's such a huge tribe of us that really believe in collaboration over competition. And so if you're still stuck in the corporate dog eat dog shark infested waters type mentality, take a deep breath, because I used to be that place too. I was six-figure successful in corporate sales before I defected and went into online business. But it was, especially in my industry, it was still an old boys club, and it was very much, it was a very toxic sales environment. So it took me years to kind of like come down from that mentality, but I embrace it fully, being an online biz and being able to collaborate with other women. It's so powerful. So definitely make sure you tap into that feel of collaboration and go out and find the people who want that too. Because not everyone online is, has that mentality. Okay, so we got to pick who we want to talk to, what topic we want to cover that would make sense for your offers a couple steps down the road, right? And then we're going to talk about where. So I keep it simple. I use Zoom and I stream it into a Facebook group. It's super simple. It doesn't have to get any more complicated than that. You don't have to have fancy anything to do this stuff. It's just a regular old Zoom account, and I stream it with the little button on Zoom into my Facebook group. So if you don't have a Facebook group yet, you don't have to have one, but you could start one with your events. That's what I did. And then I just clean people out after a certain period of time if they haven't been active, so that I keep it kind of smaller and more intimate group. That's my personal take on it. You can do whatever you want. It's your biz. So that's literally the where. And then you nail down a date for when. So I think everyone has great ideas, but if you don't actually put a date on your calendar, especially as ambitious moms, does it actually happen? No. So I challenge you today to figure out what date you would actually host your next 2 events or 3 events. If you're a keener like me, I like to nail them down and go for it. And then why? Let's talk about why. So why is for lead generation. It is targeted audience growth. You are going to be able to control the topic and the speakers that you're going to invite. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to approach speakers and get them in. So that's kind of the how part of that. But literally figure out, why do I want to pull these people in? What are the offers that I want to make, in the next 3 weeks, in the next month, in the next, if you have your marketing calendar figured out for the whole year, then you want to pull strategic topics in for summits that are happening, a month or 2 months before certain offers are going out, certain programs are being offered in your business. So, well, the sun's coming out. It's going to get really bright in here. Okay, so figure out who you want to pull in, what the topic's going to be, where you're going to host it. So whether it's Zoom or just, you could do it just straight up in a Facebook group. You could do it on Instagram if you wanted to. Doesn't matter. Anywhere where you can pull other people onto screen with you. And then you're going to figure out when. So nail down some dates. Just pick dates that work for your schedule. And then we're going to figure out what type of event you're going to host. So is it going to be live stream? How many speakers do you want? Is it going to be pre-recorded? A lot of people think pre-recorded is easier, but it depends on your personality and it depends on your ideal client. What is best for both of you? Because you want the X factor. I always talk about the X factor. It's the intersection of where it works best for you and where you're pumped to show up and do it, and where it's like also where your ideal clients want to be. So for example, for me, I do live events. The majority of people watch the replay. Why? Because my whole audience is ambitious moms. They're ambitious moms, don't have time to show up live to everything. So it's really important for you to know who your ideal client is. It also helps set expectations of who's going to show up live. I run challenges like this all the time and rarely do more than four people, maybe 6 people show up live. The rest of them all watch the replays. And that doesn't bother me because I know that. So don't get wrapped up in vanity metrics, but figure out how you want to show up and teach, whether you want to do live or pre-recorded, and also what your ideal client needs. Because if you have, let's say, if you're dealing with professional women or professional men, whatever, if they're at their job from 9 to 5, then they're typically not going to show up live to things during work hours. I work with a lot of coaches who are ex-corporate professionals. So they show up during the day because we like to work during the day. And then when the kids get off the bus, like the rest of the day is kind of shot, right? Okay, so figure out when you want to host it, what time of day, what type of event it's going to be, and then why. So why is it that you're hosting that topic? Why is it that you're hosting that type of client? What are the offers that you're going to be creating down the road? So I know this sounds like kind of jumbled, but like literally write down who, what, when, where, why, and how. So tomorrow we're going to do more with the how. So we're going to talk about how to attract speakers in, and we're going to talk about how to set your summit up. I mean, obviously it's going to be the bare bones, but I want you guys to realize that it's so much less complicated than you think, especially if you get the first one under your belt. And all of the clients that I have who I have helped with running summits have all gotten at least 50 people in per event, 50 new leads. What would that do for your business? I asked that yesterday. What would 50 new people who are targeted leads coming into your world in the next 60 days, what would that do for your business, for your momentum, for your confidence, and for your sales? This is so key. If you post on social media twice a day for the next 90 days, I promise you, you will not have 50 targeted leads. And you could host one event with collaboration and have 50 targeted leads come into your world. Not to say that 50 of them buy, that's not realistic, but you're going to have 50 of the right people coming at you. You build your email list first because that's the asset you own. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. You also grow your social following, whether you want to do that on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, doesn't matter. You're growing your social following at the same time. And what would that do if you started repeating that on a regular basis? So that could be monthly, that could be every 2 months, that could be quarterly, that could be twice a year. It could be once a year. If you want 50 new people once a year, that's awesome. But what is the whole goal of this is to have reach that matches your vision. So if you have goals of having a 6-figure business this year, then you need to get building that audience, and we need to pull the right people in, and collaborative events are the fastest, easiest, most effective, almost like a guarantee. So let me know if you have questions, get into my DMs. I'm happy to coach this week for free in the DMs, like I mentioned before, but please go and do your what, when, where, why, and how about your first collaborative event. And at the very least, what you should do is nail down 2 dates for your next 2 events, and then at least come up with a topic. It doesn't have to be the perfect title and tagline yet, but come up with a topic that you would want to pull people towards. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about how to find speakers that match that topic, and that would be really complimentary for you and your audience and your offers. Okay, have a great day, ladies. Talk soon.